Maureen Schaefer, and I'm pleased to welcome our guest from Bonfils Blood Center, Liz Lambert. And Liz is going to tell us a little bit about who she is and what her position is with the organization.
Well, thank you, first of all. I am the spokesperson for Bonfils, and so I help raise awareness around the community, around Colorado, and here in Boulder.
So about how many gallons of blood did Coloradans give last year?
Well, I don't know exactly in gallons, but I know that about 70,000 Coloradans donated last year, and altogether combined, they donated around 150,000 units of blood. So every donation is considered a unit. 8 units makes a gallon, so quite a considerable amount of blood.
Yeah. Did it meet the need?
Well, that's a constant battle. So patients need blood every day. Every 2 seconds, somewhere in the U.S. needs blood. And to meet the needs in Colorado alone, we say it takes about 3,000 to 3,500 units of blood donations every week just to meet that need. And so we are constantly striving to meet that need. We're talking about patients who have cancer that need regular treatments, people who undergo surgeries and transplants, and then there's all kinds of emergency situations and traumas like car accidents and that sort of thing that require blood. So we always need to stay ahead of that need. There's a certain amount of blood that hospitals expect to go through in a week's time. And so we always need to make sure there's additional units on the shelf at all times to be ready for those emergencies.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. How are you doing this year?
This summer has been quite a challenge. Usually the summer is difficult because the blood drives that we host at colleges and high schools and some of the workplace blood drives aren't as frequent when people are on vacation and schools are out of session. And so it's really a challenge to encourage people to come in, make that time to come in and donate when they've got their vacation scheduled. But we ask people to think about making it part of their vacation checklist before they go and help ensure that that blood is ready to go, because while people are out and about, that's one more reason the need for blood could go up if people are out and there are accidents and other circumstances that might require blood donations.
You're being active.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you prepare for a blood donation?
Well, we ask people to, think about it a couple days ahead so that you're well hydrated. Make sure you're drinking more water than normal. Make sure you're, keep a glass of water with you, sip it throughout the day, that kind of thing. Make sure that you eat a real healthy, low-fat meal within 2 hours of coming in to donate. We don't want you fasting, definitely, before your donation. So having a banana before you come in, that's probably not going to cut it. Make sure it's a substantial meal 2 hours before you donate.
So tell me about what I need to do. What are the requirements for giving blood?
Well, you need to be at least 16 years old. If you're 16 or 17, you have to have a special parents' written permission. And there is no upper age limit. So as long as you're in good general health, for the most part, you're going to be eligible to donate blood. We have a whole list of the specifics on our website, which is bonfils.org, and that will lay out all the specifics regarding certain medications you might be on, whether you have some kind of health condition that would interfere. But a lot of people automatically assume they're not eligible when in fact they are. We've found that about 38% of the population is eligible to donate, but fewer than 10% do. And so we really encourage people to look closely at those eligibility requirements. For example, you might be diabetic, but if it's controlled with medication, if all of your blood sugar levels are in a reasonable range, you may still be able to donate. If you have high blood pressure and that's controlled by medication, you too may be able to donate. So there are various reasons people automatically assume they're not eligible. We just want to ensure that people do check those out. They're constantly changing too. The FDA highly regulates blood centers all across the country and is revisiting those eligibility requirements all the time. And so things like the tattoo policy just changed at Bonfils in January. Previously, if you had received a tattoo, you had to automatically wait 12 months before you could donate again. However, now, as long as that tattoo is performed in a licensed professional shop in Colorado or one of 38 states that are listed on our website, then you don't have to go through that waiting period and you can continue to donate without that time frame of not being able to.
Yeah, of having to skip that.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's vacations get in the way of that. Like if you go to certain places, that's one of the ways I know that you can't contribute blood for a while, but it has to be malaria ridden. Is that still the
right?
instance for that?
There are several countries that that still have that travel deferral in place. And that list is constantly changing as well. So a few countries in Mexico I know that previously were on the list have recently been taken off. So that, again, is another reason people should be, checking again if they haven't checked in a while,
Right.
because all of that does change frequently.
The Mexico vacations were getting in my way for a while, so I'm a blood donor. Every 56 days, I believe, is the routine. So, is there a blood drive coming up?
So there are constantly blood drives all over the state, and the Boulder area holds various blood drives very frequently. The University of Colorado, for example, holds them several times a year, even in the summertime. McGuckin Hardware frequently holds blood drives. There are various other businesses that will hold them from 1 to up to 6 times per year. That's in addition to the fixed site location that we have at 28th near Belmont, and that is open several days a week as well, so that it's always there for your convenience, and we try to make it as convenient as possible by having different businesses and community groups and other organizations hosting blood drives.
And I know there's a great big one that happens in the fall.
Yes, Drive for Life
Yeah.
is our biggest blood drive of the year across Colorado. And so about 1,000 people come out to Sports Authority Field at Mile High to donate on that day at the stadium. And it's a pretty cool event because you get to interact and mingle with the current players, former players, cheerleaders, Miles the mascot's there. And you're all on the club level of the stadium, so you get to experience that whole NFL feeling, like you would on game day almost. And it's just a really fun event because when you go to give blood, you might have a player coming up and thanking you personally. And so it's pretty neat. You get to play games with them after you're done with your donation, and you get a goodie bag with a t-shirt and a pin. So it's a really good time, and we encourage people to give up to at least 3 times a year if they can. You're eligible to donate whole blood 6 times a year, but we'd ask that you'd at least consider 3 times a year. And so you have time to donate now through September 12th, and then donate again at Drive for Life. And if you come in to donate after September 12th, there's still a way that you can come to Drive for Life and not donate, but still get all of the perks that a blood donor would get that day.
So I know there's a couple of different ways that you can give blood, you can give platelets. Can you tell us a little bit about the difference between the two of those?
Sure. Most people are familiar with whole blood donations. That's what we do primarily at the mobile blood drives. There are platelet and plasma donations that we can do as well, and most of those are set up at our donor centers, and a lot of that's because of the machinery involved, the machines that collect the blood and separate the components. So when you give whole blood, all of the blood goes into a bag, and it's taken away and processed and split up into components to be given to patients. But when you donate platelets, for example, you're hooked up to a machine that will separate the red blood cells and the platelets, and it'll return the red blood cells back to your body, and it'll take a lot more platelets than a whole blood donation will. Those platelets then can be used to help, like a cancer patient, for example. A lot of times doctors find that platelet donations are better received by certain patients when they are all received from one patient or one donor as opposed to a whole bunch of donors. And so those platelet donations on an individual basis can help people in need. And when you give platelets, because you're getting your red blood cells back, that's what takes so long to regenerate when you donate blood. And so platelet donors are able to actually donate as often as 24 times a year. So that's 3 gallons worth of platelets, as opposed to a whole blood donor who can only donate up to 6 times a year.
So I've been reading about the bone marrow program that you have. Tell me about that.
So Bonfils works with Be the Match and the National Marrow Program. And what that is a registry of names that each taken a little cheek swab. That's how simple it is to get on the registry. You fill out some paperwork. There's about 4 or 5 different swabs that you brush your cheek with. You put them in an envelope. It's sent off for testing, and then that initial information is put into the registry along with your name and contact information. You may get on the registry when you're 18, and you'll stay on there until you're in your 60s. You may never get a call. However, there are more than 70% of people who have a blood disorder or a blood disease who need a life-saving marrow transplant who don't have a close family member that is a match or a close enough match for a transplant. And so that's why it's so important for this Be the Match registry to have as many people on it of as many diverse ethnic backgrounds as possible to be able to find matches for those people who need transplants. For example, if a child with leukemia might need marrow or what's called a peripheral bone stem cell transplant. They're both relatively the same thing. It's all about bone marrow and blood marrow, and being able to transplant that into a patient is often their last life-saving chance. And so the more people that are on that registry, the better, because everyone's got a little bit different makeup, and finding that match is so key, because you can't manufacture that.
Yeah.
It's got to be a real living person that can provide that match.
No substitute.
Right.
Thank you for all the work you do. It's amazing.
Oh,
How you
thank
think
you.
about the numbers and the life-saving task that you perform. It's appreciated. So everybody go out, give some blood today. Thank you.